Good morning. We'll get started in just a moment here as we let in all the participants for our annual meeting. Hope you all have a good cup of coffee, warming your jammies at home, getting ready for a day. We'll wait just a few minutes as we let more people in. Thanks for your patience as we get started. If we were at the zoo together, we'd be grabbing coffee and pastries. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Pamela Sanchez. I'm the president and CEO of the Seneca Park Zoo Society. Thank you for joining us at this year's annual meeting. It's a time at which we report to you, our membership, on the accomplishments of the previous year, report on our finances, elect new trustees, and give you a glimpse of the future. It's during that last segment this morning that we'll be using the Q&A feature on Zoom. So if you wouldn't mind holding your questions until a little later in the program, that would be great. The annual meeting has come to be one of my favorite events of the year because I have the opportunity to see so many of you in person and thank you personally for your support. I can't do that this year, but I thank you for being here and participating via Zoom. I want to thank the many people who've made this morning's meeting possible. And I want to apologize in advance for any technical difficulties we may experience. We are all learning new things here, including how to run a Zoom webinar. As members of the Seneca Park Zoo, you know that the zoo is operated by a really unique public-private partnership between Monroe County and the Seneca Park Zoo Society. It's a synergistic partnership with county staff providing animal care, animal health, life support services and maintenance, and society staff providing education and outreach programs, managing membership, marketing, and social media, operating admissions, food and gift, and of course, in most years, running terrific fundraising events like Zubilation and Zubru. Our partnership is essential, and your membership supports both partners. I'm pleased this morning to welcome County Executive Adam Bello. I've known Adam since I joined the Zoo Society. He was then Irondequoit Town Supervisor, and he frequented the zoo with his family. Last November, about 10 days after he was elected to the office of County Executive, he graciously took a meeting with myself and our board chair, Peter Lutz, and we could feel his excitement for all things zoo. Upon taking office, he named Patrick Meredith to be our new Parks Director, and David Hamilton became our interim Zoo Director. We were full steam ahead, and the year was off to one of the best ever. In early March, the world changed. And as you all know, other things have been appropriately occupying the County Executive's time and efforts. We're fortunate he was able to make some time to welcome you this morning. Adam, thank you for your partnership and for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Pamela. And I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. And I remember that meeting well back in November, sitting down with you and David and Peter and so many folks to talk about the phases of the zoo construction project, what's important to the zoo, how do we make sure that the zoo continues to be a first-class attraction in our community, and so I appreciate this partnership and the opportunity to work together. I appreciate all the hard work that you're doing because this really is a team approach, and it is a unique setup that we have here. This public-private partnership. A lot of people are working very hard to make our zoo work and function. The board here, the trustees, all the membership. Our team, the veterinarian staff, and in our parks department, has just been doing an incredible job and has gone through a lot of changes. Not only is there a leadership change at the beginning of this year in the county administration, but then we have a global pandemic we're facing, which again, there's no real rule book for that. How do you run a zoo in the middle of a global pandemic? There's no handbook for that or guidebook. You have to do the best that you can. And I just want to start by thanking every single one of the men and women who work at the zoo, who work at the society, who work for Monroe County, for taking care of these animals, taking care of the zoo, and making sure that everybody is staying safe. So thank you for all that work that you're doing. And I am really looking forward to this, my tenure here working with all of you to make the zoo everything it can be. I think the Seneca Park Zoo is one of our greatest assets. It's a regional destination. It's nestled right up against my hometown in Irondequoit, and you know, it's a really good resource and an escape for people of all ages. And you know, I always talk about why I love Monroe County. I'm a lifelong resident, and you know, the zoo is always at the top of my list. We have the Seneca Park Zoo, the Rochester Red Wings, the Museum of Play, the Rochester Museum and Science Center. The list just goes on and on and on. And as the father of two small kids, my children are 9 and 10 years old. We have spent the last 9 or 10 years spending an awful lot of time at the zoo. And it's a place for imagination, creativity, and really just unlocks that natural instinct our children have to be explorers. And so I think this is just really important. And so I know that I share the love for our zoo that all of you do as well. And you know, one of the things that I've seen over the last couple months too is really how the Zoo Society has opened the zoo to the public still in a virtual way. You know, you see the images of our favorite animals are still out on social media. I saw a couple weeks ago this really great, I think it was a photo, it might have been a video of the penguin inside the Rocky Coast exhibit, looking and playing with the sea lions and touring around the zoo. And I think that that's a really great thing because it's interacting with the animals, it's keeping them engaged because I'm sure they miss us as well. But also gives the public some insight into what's happening at the zoo. And then also being able to keep the programs going, the Earth Day programs, Penguin Day programs, Otter Day later this month. We're still welcoming new animals into the zoo as we go. I know that we had an otter recently, just a couple weeks ago, join us. And so there's just a lot of activity still there, even though we can't see them. And your membership fees really do help us be able to sustain the operation, paying for food for our animals and for the staff to take care of the animals and ensuring various life support systems, because the zoo isn't just a 9-to-5 operation working on banker's hours. It's a 24-hour operation. Those animals need to be cared for 24 hours a day. And we have security there that's 24 hours a day too. And so your membership fees help to support this vital resource and all the folks who are working on those animals. So what I are working to help support and maintain the animals, their enclosures, and the zoo itself. So, you know, we're working as a team diligently to try to figure out how to reopen the zoo in the coming weeks and months. And I want to also thank you for your patience on that. I know as members, you are very anxious to come back in and see our friends. And I know they're anxious to see you as well. We have to do it though in a safe way, because what we want to make sure we do is we protect our animals and make sure that they're safe and their health is protected. And we also have to protect the health and safety of our patrons, all the guests who want to come in, and all our members. And we also want to protect the health and safety of our staff and everyone who's working there. So we will work very hard to make sure that we can open when we can, and that we do it in a safe and responsible manner, and we can all get back in to see our animals. We're also going to work very diligently. I know we're all going to be under tough budget times coming up in the next several years, and that goes from the Zoo Society to Monroe County, our towns and villages, state, and the federal government. But we're going to work very hard to see what we can't do to continue the progress that's been made in building the zoo. I tell you, I've been going to the zoo since I was born, and it's gone through a lot of transformations. I'm very proud of the condition it's in today. I think that the additions that have been made to the zoo, and the new construction there is really just second to none. And so we're going to continue the progress that's been made there to do the right thing by our members, by our community, and by the animals that call the zoo home. So thank you all very much again. I appreciate the service of everyone on the board. I appreciate all our members and all the work you do. And Pamela, what a fantastic job you're doing. And David, again, you sort of got thrown in here with a lot of leadership changes and things as we've gone, but you've kept those animals very safe, happy, and all our friends there at the zoo. So we appreciate your work, Maureen, and the whole team. So thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to make the zoo everything it can be.
Adam, thank you so much again for being here, and thank you for your leadership during this time. This is uncharted waters, and I know I speak for a number of myself and a number of people that I know that really feel confident with your leadership, that we're getting the information that we need, and that Dr. Mendoza is giving us great advice on what we can do to keep everyone safe. So thank you again for taking the time to be here. I know you've got a lot of other things. Normally I'd be saying go enjoy the Lilac Festival at this time.
I know. A lot of changes going on.
Still lilacs to be seen. So
there are, and people should go out and enjoy the weather. I think it's going to be a very nice day today. Just keep 6 feet apart and wear your face mask.
Great. Thank you again, Adam.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our board chair, Peter Lutz, who will share a brief overview of 2019.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, County Executive Bello. Normally today with the annual meeting, a couple of my kids, at least a couple of my kids would be with us. But when they heard that we weren't going to the zoo and there weren't going to be any pastries, they abandoned ship. So here I sit in my basement. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about 2019. As chair of the board, I'm going to give you an overview of the Zoo Society's accomplishments in 2019. I'm pleased to report that thankfully up until the pandemic, we were in a very strong financial foundation, as our treasurer, Trishptera, will walk us through a little bit later. In 2019, zoo attendance exceeded 405,000 guests. We welcomed more household members than ever before in our history. We continued to create and deliver innovative programming, both on-site and off-site. Our volunteer corps grew to over 800 people. Special event fundraisers such as Zubilation and Jungle Jog saw their best years ever. We created camps for children with special needs and designed and delivered innovative programming serving our schools. Our programs designed to connect our community with urban ecology and regional conservation continued to grow, including expanding our native pollinator habitat, growing our urban ecologist workforce program, and increasing our participation in urban wildlife information network, as well as continuing to organize and staff park and beach cleanups. Under the terms of our operating agreement with Monroe County, the zoo remitted more than $2 million to the county last year, the most in our history. Last year, the Zoo Society raised more than $750,000 to operate the zoo's award-winning education and outreach programs. The value of marketing and communications support the society provided the zoo each year exceeds $800,000. Efforts that ensure the zoo is top of the mind is a fantastic place to visit and a crucial community resource for all things related to wildlife and conservation. Special fundraising initiatives for conservation resulted in raising nearly $100,000 for international conservation efforts and resulted in critical grants being awarded to programs impacting snow leopards, polar bears, lemurs, orangutans, elephants, giraffes, and more. The Zoo Society also supported staff travel to Churchill to study the way climate change is impacting polar bears, to South Africa to work with orphaned African penguins, to Panama to assist in rehousing critically endangered Panamanian golden frogs, and to Madagascar to assist with reforestation efforts. Much of which I have discussed here is discussed in greater detail in the 2019 annual report, which this year is available digitally and has been emailed to this morning's registered attendees. I hope you'll take the time to read through the report at your leisure. We have so much to be proud of, and I say that not just as board chair, but as a zoo member and a longtime zoo lover. My wife and I have been involved with the zoo for many years. In fact, some of you may remember that my wife and I had our first date at the zoo, so it's a special place to us. We've watched our 4 children grow in understanding the animals they encounter here and their role as future stewards of the environment. We have supported the zoo personally because it's a place of happiness and a place that we can mutually experience together. And we know that our support helps hundreds of thousands of families in the region to enjoy it. I've also supported the zoo through my company because our employees and my clients also benefit from having this extraordinary treasure in our region. I want to thank all of you as members for the role you play in supporting the Seneca Park Zoo. And with that, I'll turn this over to Trishptera for the Treasurer's Report. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you again for joining us today. As Peter said, I'm Trishptera, Treasurer of the Seneca Park Zoo Society, and I'm happy to share the 2019 Treasurer's Report with you. During 2019, revenues grew 5.3% over 2018. This increase enabled the zoo to deliver another balanced budget in 2019. With the Africa Savannah open for the entire year, food service concessions and catering, as well as zoo shops, did very well. Membership and admissions brought in $3.2 million in 2019, the best year ever. And this happened without a raise in rates. We thank you for all your continued membership support and welcome all new members joining us today. Special events headed by Zubilation and Zubru brought in $380,000 of net income to help support the education and program conservation and action programs at the zoo and in our community. The zoo's endowment has continued to grow. At the end of 2019, it was over $1.2 million. Due to our ability to deliver a balanced budget, we are also able to designate $50,000 of operating income to future projects, including staff development, zookeeper training, and improvements to the animal annex that houses our ambassador animals. Lastly, 2019 represents 24 years of balanced budgets, no deficits, and clean audits. As you are all aware, 2020 is a challenging year. The zoo is utilizing its resources to the best of its abilities and appreciates your continued support until we can safely reopen. Until then, stay healthy and safe. I would now like to introduce Mo Dobies, the chair of the committees on trustees.
Am I here? Okay. Thank you, Tricia. And thank everyone for participating today in the annual meeting. One of the main purposes of an annual meeting, according to our bylaws and that of New York State nonprofit law, is to elect the trustees for the new class, the class of 2023. I just want to say too, thank you all, this board and the boards that I've been connected with for the past, 15 years, really take seriously, and we feel privileged to represent all of you because we know you take it seriously and you love the zoo, and we carry that with us all the time. So I think we've done a good job with our Board of Trustees, and we are excited to nominate our new ones for today. As a board member, we serve 3-year terms. You can serve 3 3-year terms before stepping off the board for a required 1-year sabbatical. Hopefully you come back. Many have come back and served more. So we're expected to participate by attending meetings, joining committees, contributing financially, and being ambassadors for the zoo and the Zoo Society. So with that, I will talk about our nominees for this year. This year we have 2 nominees being renominated to serve additional terms as trustees, and 2 nominees who will be first-time trustees. And I must say they are a nice-looking bunch. I'm pleased to place into nomination Suzanne Hunt, You'll see her there. Suzanne has successfully completed her first term as trustee of the Zoo Society and helped create the Environmental Innovation Award and Symposium, which is held every fall. This is a fabulous event and gets bigger and more popular every year. Her knowledge and passion for the environment and sustainability is truly unmatched, and we are happy that she's agreed to serve another term. Susan is president of Hunt Green LLC, a family-owned business serving the community since I'm getting Mike in there. I'm jumping ahead. Susan is the president of Hunt Green LLC, an international energy and agricultural environment consulting firm. Now on to Mike Morse. He's in front of the lake there. Mike has successfully completed 2 terms as a trustee, and we're happy that Mike has said he would come aboard again for another term. Mike serves on numerous committees, including this Committee on Trustee and the Development Committee. Most days you'll find Mike at his Morse Lumber Company, which has been a family-owned company since the 1800s. So, and hopefully one day.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Uh-oh. Sorry, folks. Siri popped in. So now Todd Liebert is our third nominee. Todd is being nominated for his first term as trustee. Todd serves as CEO of CPL, one of our region's leading architectural, engineering, and design firms. While Todd will be new to our board, he has a lot of experience on other nonprofit boards as a trustee and a board member. He also isn't new to our zoo. CPL serves as our lead architect for the zoo expansion. And fourth, Jim Myers, also for a first term, is being nominated. He is Dr. Jim Myers. He's Associate Provost of International Education and Global Programs at RIT. He has a natural affinity with conservation projects in which the zoo is involved. His own research focuses on the nexus of natural resources, infrastructure, and human health in developing countries. Jim is presently an integral part of several of the projects underway as part of the RIT Seneca Park Zoo Society Strategic Partnership. At this time, so I'd like to move to nominate these 4 people to serve as trustees for the class of 2023 and ask for a second. I'm assuming I have a second.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Hopefully now you'll see a poll on your screen asking for your vote. Okay. So please cast your vote now for all 4 candidates. And let's see, as you will know, we also had additional opportunity for proxy votes via mail. So I think Amy will tell me if when all the votes are cast. Amy, someone, I'm thinking.
We're almost there.
Okay, all right.
All right, I think we're good.
We're good? Go ahead, as I know we should. So I think I can safely say that we have had overwhelming support for all 4 candidates who now become part of our class of 2023. So I can close this up. All right. And just one last thing, I'd like to take a moment for 2 thank yous to, there they are, to 2 board members who will complete their service as of this meeting. Jamie Weinbrake, on the left there, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts at RIT, joined our board just 3 years ago when our strategic partnership with RIT began. And he served as chair of our education committee. And due to his leadership, the partnership with RIT has grown and flourished, and that is really no exaggeration. He has done a fabulous job, and we love that partnership. It's really working very well for us and for RIT. Jamie has accepted a position as Provost and Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at the University of North Carolina in Wilmington. And Jamie, we are sorry to say goodbye to you, but we are very happy for you and your family with your new adventure. And we'll miss you, but we wish you well. And lastly is Gavin Brownlee. He's been a familiar face around here for a very long time. I've known Gavin since his first child was born, and he's just been contributing and saying yes when asked and stepping up for 10 years. He served three-year terms, and as allowed by our bylaws, he continued on as past president, past chair for another year. So he's termed out, but I hope he won't be far away. Gavin, we have lots of ways. We'd love to have you stay involved with us. I think you will. You've really demonstrated that you have such a strong feeling for the zoo. And we will miss you. We will miss you both, and thank you both for your service. So with that, I'll turn this back over to Pamela. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mo. We thought it would be appropriate this morning to give you an update on how the animals and animal care staff have been doing since closure. And then David Hamilton and I will walk you through some of the preliminary plans for how the zoo experience will change when we are ready to reopen. Before we do that, though, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss our present situation. 2019 was a fantastic year in many, many ways. Attendance, membership, revenue sharing with county, record-breaking special events, and support for global conservation efforts. 2020 will be a fantastic year, but in very different ways. It will be the year the entire year paused for several months. The entire world paused for several months. And we all had to relearn how to operate in an altered environment. Our membership rolls are declining and will continue to decline. Our admission numbers will be down dramatically. We have already canceled our biggest annual fundraiser, Zubilation, as well as several Zubrus. We've postponed Cinco de Rhino and will most likely convert Jungle Jog to a virtual run and fundraiser. There is still so much we don't know about whether we can hold catered events or birthday parties or overnights. We hope to be able to hold summer camps, but with much lower capacities. The impact on our diverse revenue streams is frightening, as is the impact on our revenue share with Monroe County. Last night, we held a small virtual fundraiser, Zoomathon, to raise needed funds to support our ongoing education and outreach efforts. We had nearly 400 people join us for an hour of family-friendly zoo-based fun, and I know a lot of you were with us at Zoomathon. We raised a little over $7,500. We also have a donor, the Glover Krask Foundation, that has agreed to match funds up to $10,000. My friends, we need that full match. So if you're so moved, please go to senecaparkzoo.org/give before noon today. Every dollar counts. The impact of losing just the special events I mentioned earlier is in excess of $250,000 net. Some of you may be wondering about our A Wilder Vision capital campaign and whether we are on pause with the transformation of the zoo. Well, no and yes. We continue to seek funding to meet the Zoo Society's financial commitment for the zoo's master plan, though our focus in the past several months has been on the immediate operating needs. We are meeting this next week to discuss construction of the Trailside Conservation Cafe and hope to move that project forward quickly. We were slated to begin design for the front of the zoo this spring, and then COVID-19 had other plans. But you know what? We will persevere through this, and we will rebound. Research is showing that zoos are among the first places that people will want to visit in a post-quarantine, post-corona world, and we will welcome them with socially distanced arms. Seneca Park Zoo will be a place of refuge and a place for joy. Seneca Park Zoo will continue to serve every element of our community with innovative education and outreach programs that connect people to nature and inspire them to live more sustainably. Seneca Park Zoo will continue to be a leader in conservation action, from citizen science to park cleanups and pollinator habitat restoration, and we will somehow continue to be a leader among zoos in our funding of international conservation efforts. There's a phrase being repeated by many of my zoo colleagues across the country. Our zoos may be closed, but conservation isn't closed. Conservation is why we exist. From zoo science that is helping to save species from extinction, to inspiring people to make a change in their own homes and their own neighborhoods for the good of nature, zoos are beacons of hope. And just as conservation isn't closed, hope is not on hold. And with that, I'd like to introduce our interim zoo director, David Hamilton, my friend and colleague, who will share a little bit about your favorite things at the zoo, the animals. David?
All right. Thank you, Pamela. For the last 8 or 9 or 89 weeks, things have been very different at the zoo. We haven't had you guys, and we miss everyone. When we went into the pause, we cut in-person staff to meet the governor's directive, but still perform the essential services of taking care of our great animals. Staff have had work from home days where they do online continuing education classes, take webinars, they do reading and researching their animals, and writing protocols. The days at the zoo have been different, and they're in-person days at the zoo. They have 4 keepers per section of the zoo, and we have 3 sections of the zoo and our animal health area. The morning starts out with health screening and temperature checks, and then checking on the animals and beginning to prepare their diets. They start their cleaning routines, and there's lots of cleaning at the zoo all the time, but especially now. We want to prevent the staff and the animals from being exposed. And we've been social distancing each other and the animals as well, just in case. The assumption has been all along that primates, like our baboons, would be vulnerable to coronavirus. But there's, unfortunately, the Bronx Zoo was able to prove that some of the big cats, tigers and lions are susceptible as well. Research has shown that other species have their own coronaviruses, and that mustelids, like our otters, are susceptible. So we want to make sure that all those animals are being protected and being cared for in the best possible ways. In addition to hand washing, we wear masks when we're around the animals and around the other staff, and we don't get too close unnecessarily. It is very obvious when I'm walking about the zoo in the morning that the animals are missing our visitors. Some of them are very attentive to me as I walk around. The lions pay very much attention to me. The wolves are very interested in staff as they walk by, and even howl more. Maybe it's quieter in the neighborhoods and they're able to hear sounds further off, but they seem to be howling more than they have in the past. The lions pay a lot of attention to me. Anoki, when I stop by to see her in the morning, she's very interested in what I'm doing. I'm sure some of them will have to get used to more people as we open. Some of them may be a little bit skittish at first, but they will get back to normal and have a good time and do what they're there for, to show you guys how amazing these animals are and to serve as ambassadors for their counterparts in nature. We can't wait to show you our newest otter, Ashki. She and Sailor have been doing very well. They are very active, very interactive with the staff there at their underwater viewing area. They are just amazing animals. The staff is going to be getting back to their normal schedules as we ramp up our preparations to reopen the zoo and welcome everyone back to Seneca Park Zoo. So we hope to see you soon.
Thank you, David. So we wanted to take a few minutes this morning, and then we'll do some look to answer some of your questions. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about what reopening Seneca Park Zoo will look like and the precautions and the changes that will happen. Many people have asked, what phase of the opening are you? And right now we are slated to be in phase 4. Zoos have been classified the same as museums, and a number of zoos across New York State are working to have the government reconsider that and try to open us in phase 3, since we are more park-like and have fewer indoor spaces. So Amy, if you can go to the next slide. Sort of the 3 major categories to consider when we're looking at reopening and how things need to change. Number 1 is we need to really optimize the traffic flow at the zoo to make sure that there's social distancing everywhere. The second major category is to implement additional protocols for sanitizing to keep everybody safe. And the third is really eliminating or reducing any unnecessary risks. And again, this is all to ensure the safety of our guests, our staff, our volunteers, and of course our animals. So let's go in a little more detail. And if we talk about what admissions will look like. And I should say that David and I have been participating in a number of webinars with our colleagues across the country. We're learning a lot from the 10 or so zoos that are already open and what their experiences are. And the wonderful thing about one of the many wonderful things about being an accredited zoo through the Association of Zoos and Aquariums is the access that we have to each other's expertise and experiences, and we all share with each other and learn from one another. So we've already been privy to the opening plans for zoos across the country, and we're adapting the best practices that we see for what will work at Seneca Park Zoo. We will be pushing as many admissions to online reservations. There will be timed entries for members and non-members. A percentage of entries for each designated hour will be reserved for members, and members will be able to reserve farther out in advance than the general public. Yes, there will be some standby tickets and there will be some cash taken at the front gate, but for the most part, we're really trying to eliminate both handling cash at the front gate and any queues at the front gate. We will be lowering the number of people that can be on site at any one time to about 20% of our capacity. There will be touchless entry as much as possible, social distancing queuing at admissions with marks on the ground and signage reminding people, and we will be requiring universal masks or face coverings for staff, volunteers, and guests over the age of 2. David?
So when you come to the zoo, we're going to have special ways of going through the zoo. When you come through the entrance, you have to come to the entrance normally. Sometimes people exit through the entrance. We won't be doing that anymore. When you get through the zoo, you're going to be going right practically all the time. So we'll have a special pathway, and we'll have that marked on maps, and we'll have it marked on the sidewalks to direct you where to go. So we're trying to eliminate as much as possible the interaction, can increase the social distancing between people and make it as smooth as we can for a visit, and you able to see just as much as possible. So we're going to have social distancing reminder signs about the zoo. We will have signs where there are high touch points to make sure that you are either not touching something or disinfecting after you touch an area. Some of our areas will be limited in access. So a certain number of people will be able to go into the Eco Center or the Rocky Coast Gallery or Animals of the Savannah. Some areas will be closed, like our bus at the Lions or the Center for Biodiversity Exploration, the Lynx tunnels, the playgrounds at first at least. We will not have our giraffe feedings, and the tram will not be available so that we can provide the way to come back through the zoo and catch everything so that you're able to see everything just about as you go through the zoo. Okay, Amy?
We should note too, what we're sharing with you is phase 1. We do have plans for, as things loosen up, we will be lessening the constrictions. In terms of what programs will look like, people who are coming to the zoo in the summer are used to us having programs, experiences, keeper chats. we were not going to be able to do those this summer because it just isn't safe to have 200, 300 people all watching a sea lion demonstration or 150 people watching a lion training. And we're very aware that the minute there begins to be interaction between a keeper and a visitor, that a crowd gathers. And so at least in phase 1, it's going to look a little different. But the most important thing is that we'll be open and that you'll be able to see the animals. So in terms of our retail and food operations, we are looking into options for ordering for food and paying for your food on your smartphone, and then having them waiting for you at pickup. We will be limiting capacity in our retail areas, the Zoo Shop and the Savannah Outpost, and we'll have outdoor kiosks whenever possible. We will have guest-facing card swiping so that you don't have to hand over your card to us. There'll be new ways of queuing, and obviously we're instituting new protocols for cleaning and sanitizing. It's always been a top priority for us to keep everything clean and sanitized, but it's really ramping up. And so things like the tables at the picnic tables will be spread out farther, but they will be wiped down much more often. So, and we'll have some hand sanitizers and some wipes for people to wipe off their own tables if they don't trust that we've done as good a job as we can, or just simply want to be double sure.
We will have extra hand sanitizing stations throughout the zoo in different areas, and the staff will be cleaning the glass, because we know everybody likes to touch the glass, the fronts of the exhibits, and any other high touch points areas like the handrails, interpretatives, and door handles. We'll be limiting what we can, but then cleaning everything else.
Obviously, we're going to need to do everything that we can to communicate this new experience to people in advance. So when we know that we'll be ready to open, we will send emails out through both member news and our general e-news. Information will be on our website and on social media. We will have brief videos sharing what people can expect with this new experience and try to get them ready in advance for this different experience. Communication of expectations is really crucial to making sure that people know what to expect and have the best possible experience while they're on site. And honestly, to ensure them in advance, they will be safe.
So our hours are going to be normal at this first phase. Members will be in the beginning area. Our soft opening will be just members at the first, and then after that testing time, then we will be going back to our normal members come in at 9:30 to 10, and then additional visitors to the rest of the day until 3 o'clock, and then people could stay on grounds until 4 o'clock. The pricing is going to stay the same seasonal rates, the summer season rates. Our attendance will be about 20% of normal capacity in this first phase, with time ticketing and online purchasing in place. And then as we see how things go, as things open up more and more, then those things can be modified. We'll increase our attendance, and all to keep the animals safe, our visitors safe, and the staff.
So I see we do have a question that says, has there been any thoughts about increased use of webcams, even some showings with internet showing of animals at scheduled times with the keepers narrating? It would be great for some parents with kids trying to keep them occupied. And the answer really to that is yes. I hope you've seen our zoo projects at home. I hope you're checking out our Facebook page every day. We do post new videos and new images every day. On Earth Day, we had two live demonstrations or Q&As, one with lions and one with baboons, and we'll be doing more of that. So look for that in the coming weeks. An internet live stream is very difficult for us, webcams, because we are not set up for it, and the internet at the zoo, because of the buildings and because of the trees, is extremely difficult to have reliable service. So I don't want people to think that we haven't considered that or have dismissed it because of cost or anything like that. It's just extremely difficult, given the setup of the zoo, to have a reliable streaming service. David, do you want to add anything to that?
Keepers have videotaped themselves, and we have other things that we're hoping to do in the near future to get more information out. We see that there's lots of things out there, and we're doing as much as we can.
Of course, somebody asked when we will know about ZooCamp, or any idea when we'll know about ZooCamp. I'm hoping to have an answer by June 1st. I think we need to follow some of the governor's advice on that, or restrictions on that. And as soon as we have an answer, we will be communicating that out. Roland asked, with 20% capacity, will guests be required to leave at a certain time so others can answer or can enter? And the answer to that is no, because of the way David and I had discussed how many admissions will be allowed per hour. And we know that the average stay time for our guests is just about 2 hours or under it. So with the staggered entry, the likelihood that we would ever even have 1,200 people on site at a time is extremely low. So we're thinking that probably those who come in at 9:30, for example, will leave by 11:30. At that time, even if we've sold every ticket available, we'll only be at about 700 people. We also know from our friends across the country that even when we're open and have a diminished capacity, that people won't necessarily be running to the zoo to use the opportunity to come. People still won't feel safe. So we would be delighted to be at full new capacity, but we don't expect that we will be. Will there be a buffer? If I'm scheduled at 11 a.m., I'm running late, will you still be able to enter? Your time for entry is for an hour. So if you have an 11 a.m. time, right, this is our current thinking, it's really from 11 to 12 that we'll need you to get there. We know what it's like to have to put kids in strollers or kids in the car seats and then get them. We understand that. So yes, there will be a buffer. Now, if you completely missed your timed entry, as I said, there will be some standby tickets. We're looking at kind of, can we have a holding area for people that showed up at the wrong time? And we'll be constantly monitoring how many people are on site, so we'll know whether we can let more people in or not. All right, other questions? Children are a large portion of the visitors to the Seneca Park Zoo. Do the bylaws allow for a child to serve as a trustee? Please consider this. I actually don't think we have any age restrictions on our trustees. I don't think that's in our bylaws. I think that's a really interesting thought. I have thought for a little while about having a youth advisory board or having one of our zoo teens or urban ecologists serve as sort of a special ex officio. So thank you for that. I love that idea. Our former Parks and Zoo Director, Larry Staub, asks, has the Zoo Society applied for or received CARES Act funding? We have received, we applied for and received a payroll protection PPP loan. Yes, we did. Celia asks, since we have a partnership with RIT, have we thought about establishing similar programs with U of R and other local universities to heighten exposure among faculty, students, staff, and their families? That's a great question. We actually do have, so the partnership with RIT is a little bit different because it's a strategic partnership with a memorandum of understanding between the two institutions. But we have informal partnerships with the University of Rochester, and we have informal partnerships with St. John Fisher College. We're actually looking at making that more of a strategic partnership. We love our university and college partnerships. They really help us not only extend the work that we can do, but to give students and faculty real world experiences, real problems to solve. It's really benefited us much. So if you want to email me with some further ideas or contacts, please feel free to do so. We got the question, what's the most important thing members can do for us now? And the most important thing that you can do is continue to be a member. Even though you can't come in right now, our membership dollars are critical. And sharing the resources that are on our website, being an ambassador for the zoo, declaring your love for the zoo on your social media pages. Right now when you renew, we are offering 14 months of membership since we're closed. We're looking at what else we can do for our members to take better care of you. But just keep your membership dollars going. As I said at the beginning, the membership dollars support both partners in this. We can't survive without them. And to see those numbers declining is really frightening. So to me, that's the most important thing that you can do. And be ready to come back when we open. As David said, we will have a soft opening for members. We're going to ask you to come back and help us test the systems. Are they working? At the end of every day, David and I and a team, a cross-department team, will sit down and say what worked today, what didn't work today, what do we need to change, what do we need to change on the website, all of those things. So come and help us test our systems and then share with people what a great time you had at the zoo and how grateful you are for this great institution. I have a service dog. He's been registered with the zoo already. Will there be any restrictions on reopening for use with service dogs? David?
I don't think there would be any restrictions for that. They just have to follow the normal protocols.
Will docents be required to register online before coming to the zoo? Yvonne, that is a great question, and I don't have a good answer for you right now. I suspect that Tina and Kelly are thinking about that, and we will think about that and get an answer out to you. I don't think that you will, but we'll think about that. Thanks for that question. Will another form of hand drying be available versus the blow dryers for hands in the restrooms?
We haven't thought about that yet. We will think about that.
Yeah. Thank you for the question about Zubru. I mentioned that we have already had to cancel a couple of them. Are there current projections for when the first one of the season may take place? I don't have a current projection. This is one of those things that as New York State opens and we get advice from the governor on how many people are allowed to gather in a place, that's going to be something that we're looking for. So we need to know if we have to restrict beyond that. You know, right now when we say 1,200 people on site at a time, could we do that for a Zubru? There's a lot to consider, and I think that we need to be a little farther into this before we can responsibly project when we're going to be able to have a Zubru. My membership expires August 31st. Does it help the zoo if I renew now versus then? Yes. And we will extend your membership appropriately. But money in now early is wonderful. There was also a question about face masks. We are having a cloth face masks. Cloth face masks have already been made for all of the keeper staff and the society staff. We're working on docents as well. And we have ordered additional fabric that is zoo branded that we'll be making more fabric masks for. They are much more sustainable. We'll also have them available. We mentioned that the universal face masking. If you happen to show up at the zoo and you have forgotten to bring them, or you've walked from your car and left them in the car, we will have some available. The single-use ones for $1 at the front gate. We'll also have others in the zoo shop that are zoo branded and fun for kids to wear too. Thanks for putting up with this craziness of figuring out how to use the Q&A. I think we've gotten all of the questions. Yeah, I think so. Oh, does Bill have, this one's for you, David. Does Bill have his bags packed? And what's the timing of his move to his South Carolina bachelor pad?
We're helping pack his bags, but we don't have a particular date yet. We are working towards that and working with the zoo to get things set up. But there's no particular date yet. We have to watch the weather. We have to be able to train him to go into his crate. So there's a lot that goes into it.
All right, just checking for any others. How is everyone doing? That's from Jen Candor, one of our wonderful docents. We miss everyone, want to make sure everyone is doing well. You know what? We desperately miss everybody. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the zoo this past week. I've been primarily home working during this time, but to be able to go to the zoo was such an extraordinary treat. And David and I walked from a distance the zoo to make sure, looking at all the spots where we're going to need to have new signage and those high touch points. And it was such a pleasure to be there, but it will be much more pleasurable when we can welcome you all back to be a part of it. A zoo that's not open is a sanctuary, and that's not what we are. We exist to teach people and inspire people that those animals there have a higher purpose to inspire you to behave differently. And without guests, we're not achieving our mission. So we promise you, as soon as we are ready and able to do so, we will reopen. We will welcome you with virtual hugs or elbow bumps, I guess we're doing now or something. But we can't wait to have you back. I am grateful for all of you for coming this morning and being a part of our annual meeting. We love our members. We love our docents and our volunteers, and just miss you so much. And hope that this will be the only virtual annual meeting that we have to do. Look forward to seeing all of you back at the zoo very soon. Thank you so much.